Welcome to the dark side of storytelling, where every story is full of thrillers and mysteries. From chilling tales to thrilling encounters, our corner of the internet is here to haunt your nights and captivate your curiosity. Today, I bring you three true scariest stories. If you're ready to embrace the fear, like this video and share the thrill with others who dare. With that, let's start today's story in the narrator's voice.
I grew up in a funeral home. My family owned it and I helped out from a young age. By the time I was 15, I was used to the quiet and somber atmosphere, but one case changed everything for me. We got a call from a man whose wife and infant baby had been murdered. The story was all over the news. It was brutal and senseless, with barely any clues for the police to follow. The viewing was arranged at our funeral home, and it was heartbreaking. Because I was young and people knew me, I was given a task. I was asked to collect cards from the flowers and show them to the husband to see if he recognized any names. I'd then make copies of the cards and put them back. Felt like a small thing, but I knew it mattered. I talked to the husband often during those days. He seemed completely broken, like he could barely hold himself together. I felt sorry for him. The police were watching everything. They had set up surveillance at the funeral home, hoping the killer might show up. Then I heard something that sent chills down my spine. A detective told me they had an eyewitness, a 3-year-old girl. She had seen a man leaving the house on the day of the murders, and she recognized him. It turned out to be the husband's best friend. The truth was even darker than I could have imagined. The husband and his best friend had made a plan to kill each other's families so they could run off with their secretaries. The little girl's testimony cracked the case, and eventually, one of them confessed. Both men were arrested and sent to prison for multiple murders. I was stunned. That man, the husband, had stood next to me, spoken to me, acted like a grieving father and husband, and I had no idea. I couldn't believe I hadn't seen it. It changed the way I look at people. The idea that someone could hide such evil behind a mask of sorrow stuck with me. To this day, I still think about how close I was to him, and it makes me wonder how much darkness people can hide.
My aunt had always been a fiercely independent and successful lady. She lived alone in a cozy single-family home, nestled at the edge of a quiet neighborhood. It was just her and her dog, Max. She loved the peace and solitude of her home, but one night that peace was shattered in a way she would never forget. It was the middle of the night when she woke to the sound of Max growling low and steady. It wasn't his usual growl, the one he used when a raccoon wandered too close to the yard. This was different, deep, almost guttural, like a warning. Her house was silent, save for Max's growl, but something didn't feel right. She slipped on her robe, flicked on a small flashlight she kept by her bed, and decided to investigate. When she reached the living room, everything seemed normal. The furniture was in its place, the windows were shut, and the only sound was the faint hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen. Still, her unease lingered. To be safe, she decided to check the front door and windows. The front door was locked tight. She tested the first window. It was secure. Max, however, hadn't stopped growling, his hackles raised as he stood by her side. Her hand trembled as she reached for the mini blind on the second window. She lifted it slowly, and her breath caught in her throat. The window was wide open. Standing there, just outside the window, was a man with sinister smile. His eyes gleamed with something dark and menacing, and as she froze in shock, he tilted his head back and let out a low, chilling laugh. "Party time," he said, his voice dripping with malice. Before she could react, he began climbing through the window, one leg already inside. Panic surged through her and she screamed. Without thinking, she shouted the first thing that came to mind. "I have a gun." Max erupted into a frenzy of barking, his teeth bared as he lunged toward the intruder. The man hesitated for a split second, startled by the commotion. Then, as if realizing the risk wasn't worth it, he scrambled back out of the window and disappeared into the darkness. Shaking, she locked the window and called the police. The police arrived later, but the man was long gone. Though they reassured her they'd patrol the area, she knew she couldn't rely on luck again. The next day, she bought a gun and signed up for self-defense classes. To this day, she doesn't like to think about what could have happened if Max hadn't been there to warn her.
The scariest true story I know is my own. I grew up with a very mentally ill and abusive father. The summer I was 16 and my younger brother was 13, my father shot my brother with a shotgun at almost point-blank range in our basement. Thankfully, it missed his heart by 2 inches and he is still alive today. I came home that evening to find my stepmother cleaning the blood off the tile floor like there was nothing to see. It was the most terrifying and surreal thing I've ever experienced. One would believe attempted murder would be enough to terminate custody rights, but alas, the police chalked it up to accidental and my brother and I were too frightened of our father to say otherwise. At 18 and 15, respectively, my brother and I packed up and left the state never to speak to our father again. To this day, little bits of shrapnel still surface in my brother's chest.
Wow, those were dark and gloomy. I think the true stories has extra chilling effect on me. Share your thoughts on these stories and your theories in the comment section. I will highlight some of the best theories and comments. Thank you for watching or listening this thrilling story. Please consider liking the video and subscribing the channel if you want more thrilling contents. We will try to upload 4 to 5 videos every week. If I do not see you, good morning, good afternoon, and good night.